Welcome back across Nevada to Face to Face. Earlier today, I talked with a man who says you don't have to be straight to be right. Mark Ciavola is president of Right Pride, an advocacy group based for conservative and independent gays, and it's based right here in Nevada. Mr. Ciavola, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, John.
All right, let's talk about this group that you formed last fall. Haven't heard much about it. You're bursting on the scene here. Why now?
Well, somebody had to stand up and represent gay conservatives. We see that people are returning to conservatism in the country, a little bit more of a independent streak, especially here in Nevada. And we feel that someone needs to be representing gay independents, Republicans, and conservatives.
Why did you feel that way? It seems like you probably could have your meetings in a phone booth, no?
You'd be surprised. We actually have a lot of support, and not just here in Nevada. We're affiliated nationally with Go Proud, who just recently sponsored CPAC and had a speaking role on technology, and they generated a lot of buzz.
How many members here in Nevada?
We get about 30, 35 people to our meetings, and it's growing every day.
Oh, at least you hope it's growing every day.
I know it's growing.
Well, you mentioned CPAC, which brings up a point before we get to some of your platform, which is, there were some confrontations at CPAC, there was some verbal war of words. I mean, how do you feel comfortable in a party where you have the religious right, where you have a lot of intolerance on the right toward gays? Your hero, Ronald Reagan, was somewhat hostile to the gay agenda, as you may know, even though you were barely born then. How do you feel comfortable in the Republican Party?
Well, the Republican Party is just like any other group. There are people who have, certain opinions and others who don't subscribe to them. So while there certainly are people who are very traditionally conservative, there are other people who are very accepting. You look at the Democratic Party, the anti-war crowd does not speak for the entire party, and the same thing goes with the Republican Party.
But there's no real anti-gay wing of the Democratic Party. It's much more tolerant of gays, isn't it?
Well, it depends on what you call anti-gay. Conservatives, I don't believe most conservatives are anti-gay. I think they're anti-gay, traditional gay liberal agenda that they perceive to be out there.
Well, I'm not saying all conservatives are. Don't get me in trouble with
that. No, absolutely.
There are a lot of social conservatives who are hostile.
There are, but there are a lot of social conservatives on the left as well. I come from Boston, which is a great city, love the city, lots of Catholics, and lots of Catholics still have a problem with gay marriage.
And they're Democrats, who voted for Teddy Kennedy,
Who voted for Ted Kennedy and Scott Brown.
I figured you'd bring that in. Let's talk about some of the issues you really are interested in.
Sure.
From your website, from the Right Pride website. Here's one of them. You want to break up the Clark County School District. You say it should be taken out of the construction, food, services, and transportation businesses. You say with 87% of the CCSD operating budget going to compensation and benefits, there's almost nothing left for the classroom. And of course, there's a big debate now with public employee compensation. How'd you get interested in that?
I think education is important to everyone. We try to focus on issues that are important not just to gay people, but to all Americans. I mean, we're Americans first, and as a gay community, we don't want the homosexual aspect of our lives to define us. Then it really shouldn't when it comes to our issues. Education is an issue here in Nevada that affects everyone.
But breaking up the school district, why do that? I mean, why do you think that'll make it better?
Well, there was a poll that just came out that said the majority of Nevadans support that. I think you can do it in a way in which no smaller part is at any more of an advantage than the other, and I believe that it makes it more manageable.
All right, so let's show another one. You're pro-gun too, somewhat at least. Uphold our
Second Amendment rights.
Yeah, right. There you go. You don't like pro-gun. Uphold our state's open and concealed carry gun laws. These laws enable gays and lesbians who are at a higher risk of being the target of violence to defend themselves. What about, for instance, tougher penalties for hate crimes?
Well, I'll tell you, hate crimes passed last year, and the concealed carry reciprocity bill failed. So I think if gays and lesbians have the right to defend themselves, there'd be a lot less hate crimes. Don't you agree?
Well, I don't know if that's true or not, but I do know that there are a lot of Republicans who think that hate crimes creates a special category that shouldn't exist.
Well, I would agree. I think if you murder someone, it shouldn't matter whether they're gay or straight or black or white. It's murder, and you should go to jail. I think imposing a harsher penalty because someone may have committed the crime out of hate. I mean, murder is a crime of hate, no matter how you look at it. So I don't think we need special legislation for that.
Okay, healthcare reform. You say healthcare reform should be designed to create entrepreneurial energy, increase competition, control costs, and ensure transparency and prevent corruption. Okay, that's pretty general. Are you opposed to the bills that are before Congress now?
I think most Americans are opposed to the bill that's before Congress right now. I can give you the perfect example, though, of how this applies to all Americans and gay people in the process. If there's a state out there that offers a joint health insurance policy to gay couples, even if you live in a different state, you could purchase that plan. Because we can't purchase across state lines, you have gay couples living all over this country that cannot purchase joint health insurance. If you removed that restriction, you would increase competition, and gay people would have a choice in their health care.
Of course, one of the big issues for gays is don't ask, don't tell. You want to repeal that.
Sure.
You say more than 13,000 members of the armed services have been dishonorably discharged since the policy was implemented. Repeal must be done in an appropriate manner, leaving military readiness uncompromised.
Right.
Do you think that the Obama administration has dithered on this for a reason?
I think the Democratic Party has dithered on this for a long time. We had 1993 when a Democratic majority in Congress passed this with Bill Clinton's signature, to 2003 when the Iraq War began. It was a decade of silence on the part of the Democratic Party. I didn't hear any of this come up during that time. Now we're looking at repealing it, which I think is great. I think it needs to be repealed. Gay people are the only people in this country that have to lie about who they are in order to die for our country. But it needs to be repealed in a responsible manner, and one that does not leave us at any increased risk in the middle of a two-front war.
All right, and finally, you oppose any federal amendment defining marriage. Marriage has always been and should remain a state issue.
Yes.
What about same-sex marriage?
Well, same-sex marriage, I think, it doesn't belong in the scope of the federal government. I think any conservative...
You think it's okay if the state were to ban same-sex marriage, as it did here?
Well, I think here in Nevada, the people spoke, and we have to live by their decision. We have a domestic partnership law here that affords gay and lesbian couples...
It's not same-sex marriage, so it doesn't go as far as where you're from, right?
Massachusetts, it can be overturned anytime the people get a chance to speak. It was implemented by the courts.
Right.
I believe that gay and lesbian couples should have the same rights as traditional couples in this country. Whether those rights are achieved through civil unions, domestic partnerships, or marriage should be up to individual states, and it should be up to everyone's personal preference. As long as the rights are there, that's what's important. And marriage is a religious sacrament, and civil marriage is a governmental institution. Government never should have gotten involved in marriage to begin with.
All right, so we're here at the birth of this group, essentially, 30 to 35 members.
Sure.
How do you help to have an impact on this election season?
Well, I can tell you that we're meeting with as many people as we can talk to, candidates, elected officials, journalists, anyone in the community. We're inviting everyone to come out to our meetings, whether they're liberals, Democrats, independents, Republicans, conservatives, members of the gay community, straight community. We want to be out there talking about these issues, having a dialogue that doesn't exist right now.
Why would anyone listen to a group that only has 30 to 35 members? That's what I'm asking you. How are you going to get people to listen to you?
I mean, we speak on issues that are important to all Nevadans.
And on face-to-face, so that helps, right?
And face-to-face helps, absolutely.
Are you going to endorse candidates?
We are looking at certain races. We're going to have a candidate meet and greet later in the month, and I think that's going to go a long way to determining whether we're going to do that in the primary or wait until
Well, we wish you the best of luck. We'll check in with you later in the campaign season, see how you're doing.
And for more information, people can go to rightpride.org.
Rightpride.org. Don't know 800 numbers going up, though.
No.
All right. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, John.
All right. And when we come back, we'll tell you who had a tough political week in Friday's Final Word.